Hey guys, so now that 2021 is coming to a close here, I thought it would be a good idea to do something that I've really not done so much in the past, which is to create my personal ranking of the top 10 best units in Dragon Ball Legends right now, as of December 25th, 2021. That's the day I'm recording this video. So now before we start, there's a few things that I want to say to preface this video. This list is completely opinion-based and subjective. The rankings are based solely on my experience in PvP, and you guys might have a completely different outlook on your individual rankings, and that's completely fine. In fact, I want you guys to have different opinions than me so that it can potentially spark some interesting discussions down below in the comment section. So if you disagree or feel differently about anything in this ranking list, let me know down below. So we can, potentially talk about why you feel that way, and let us know your reasoning behind your thought process as well. Now, the big assumption that I am making while ranking these units is that they are all going to be judged at 14 stars and with the best possible equipment available to them. I understand that 99.9999% of the player base does not have access to every single unit in the game at 14 stars, but my reasoning behind ranking the units this way is to have them all at their strongest potential and on an even playing field. That, I think, at least in my opinion, is a fair way to rank the just raw abilities and power of these units on, a balanced and level playing field, right? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some honorable mentions, and from there, the top 10 list itself. Alright, so I actually have a total of 6 honorable mentions here. I'm not going to spend too much time on each of these honorable mentions, just so that we can get to the actual list itself and not to make this video too long. Number one, the honorable mention list is going to be Demon King Piccolo. I feel like he's obviously an incredibly powerful character right now. There's a lot of endurance in this running around, like the Sword of Hope Trunks, you have the LF Future Gohan, you have Maj Oob running around, so in combination with his incredibly high attacking power, I feel like the ability to steal Dragon Balls and just get off, maybe that one extra Rising Rush per match is a huge factor, considering that he can also nullify endurance just by existing, pretty much, right? The main reason why I feel like he doesn't really make the cut onto the top 10 is just because the Regen team, which is his main team, isn't really that good right now. They haven't gotten a massive overhaul in a long time, and that's the main thing that's holding him back here. Alright, number 2 honorable mention is going to be Maj Oob. This guy was very, very close to making my list. I think the number one thing that this guy brings to the table, obviously, is the green card. I would say he probably has a top 3 green card in the game, if not just the single best green card in the game. The activation time of that green card is like instantaneous. You almost have a 0-second reaction time needed to avoid it. He provides a support in the form of damage inflicted to the whole team. He has endurance. He has double card draw with his main popped. So this guy brings a lot to the table. And the reason why I feel like he didn't necessarily make the cut is because a lot of these units now have a very easy way of nullifying endurance. And on top of that, him being a yellow unit is not necessarily good, even though mono purple is a big threat right now. The Vegeta end of Goku and Vegeta just does so much damage to this character. I've had my 14-star Maj Oob one-shotted by that Vegeta's blue card. So while this guy's really, really good, and I actually really, really wanted to find a spot for him on my top 10 list, I just ultimately couldn't. So this is Maj Oob. He was the number 2 honorable mention for me. Alright, number 3 on the honorable mention list is going to be the LF Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta. For me, this character is literally the definition of a snowball character. If you get going with him and you get the enemy switching characters, you're able to chain together like 3 or 4 cards in a row. This guy definitely is strong enough to make the top 10 list, but if you don't get that going for you, and you don't get that snowball effect rolling for this character, he's definitely not as good as a lot of these other characters that I have on the list here, so I feel like that's the major thing holding him back. God Ki as a team, I feel like is good, but it's not really at that level to really propel him up to, the high usage rates that you see for a lot of these other characters that we're going to talk about in a second. And the last thing about him is that I feel like, ironically, his defenses are just not good enough. They marketed this guy as having the quote-unquote flawless defense thing, right? But I feel like a lot of these characters that are new, like Goku and Vegeta, you got the Ultra Gogeta, you got Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, they all just completely annihilate this guy if you get a nice string of combos going. So he's definitely insanely powerful if you get the snowballs effect rolling for him, but without that, he's just a solid unit. So he's number 3 as my honorable mention here. Alright, my number 4 honorable mention is going to be Namek Goku. This guy is incredibly hard to rank just because of how high his skill cap is, how high his skill ceiling is. If you are somebody who is like a Namek Goku fanatic, you've used this character for hundreds, thousands of matches, and you know exactly when to do certain things with this guy, I could easily see this guy being actually on the top 10 list, and you can make that argument for sure. I would argue that he could actually be as high as number like 4 or 5 on this list if you are like the Namek Goku Dynamite, like fanatical person, right? You just always use this character. You know when to eat a tackle and not to override it with a strike card. You know when to override things with strike cards. You know when to save your blue cards. You know when to vanish. You know when to use your green to restore your vanish. There's a million different layers that go into using this character effectively. But for this list, it's not really feasible to assume that most people are like the best Namek Goku players in the world. So for me, his kit is definitely aged a bit. His stats are insane though. That's one of the reasons why I feel like he still is good. Tags are really good. Zenkai ability is really good. So as a bench unit, he's really powerful. But I just don't think he really does enough at this point in the game to make it to the top 10 list. Again, unless you're like a demon with this guy. So for now, he'll be my number 4 honorable mention. Okay, number 5 on the honorable mention list is going to be LF Super Saiyan 3 Goku. This character was once upon a time like a top 2 unit in the game, and that, guess what, was not that long ago. We've seen a major shift in the meta over the course of the past few months in this game, and this guy I feel like has been replaced as the main go-to green unit for the Saiyan team. Which was pretty much his main team, right? Him and the yellow number 1 Angel Vegeta were like the dynamic duo for a long time in PvP. Still a very good combination that you can definitely use today and still be successful with that. I think the biggest thing for me is using this character. His damage for me has definitely fallen off a lot. He's still pretty tanky. I mean, he still takes a long time to actually whittle down and defeat this character. His green card's still really good. His nuke still hits very hard. Gaining a Dragon Ball when the enemy switches is definitely pretty useful. Type nullification on main ability is good. So he brings a lot to the table, but he's definitely lacking, I don't know, just that modern kit that a lot of these really powerful units have. The ability to gain second vanish gauges, the blast armor, like a lot of those things that really allow these units to have a lot of sustain right now. This guy just doesn't have that same thing. The card draw speed is nice. The cost reduction is nice, but I don't know, man. It just feels like he's been power crept. That's just at the end of the day what it comes down to. So he'll be at the number 5 spot on my honorable mentions list here. Coming in as the 6th honorable mention character is going to be Zenkai Red LF Gohan. Now let me just, before we go any deeper, let me just clarify that the honorable mention like ranking, I have 6 characters in here. They're not in any order. It's just like these are the 6 characters that I felt were very close to making that top 10 rankings, but they just barely did not. So how times have changed. Imagine Red Gohan not making the top 10. I imagine you guys probably understand why he's not making the top 10 at this point, but let me just say that there's a lot of really good blue units, or a lot of really good blue units. There's, in particular, one really good blue unit that just completely shuts down this Gohan. No, it's not Gokua. We'll talk about him later on in this video. This character definitely can still hold his own, right? A last man standing Red Gohan with his main ability popped is still one of the scariest characters in the game to fight against. I just feel like, as a normal character, if you're, the beginning to mid stages of a fight, he's not going to be able to put up those same numbers and that same just, offensive cannon-like firepower that he once did. This character was Zenkai'd in, I think it was October of 2020, so he's like 14-15 months old at this point. He's definitely aged, right? I mean, it's not like he's not aged. And the fact that he's this high up on the list, this far from his release, that's insane. Like, he's still incredibly good. He's just, eventually these characters are going to have to fall off, and that's just what happened to this Gohan. So those are my honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and jump into the actual top 10 list now. We'll start with number 10. All right, so coming in at number 10 on my top 10 strongest characters in Dragon Ball Legends list is LF Full Power Frieza. Yes, you can say biased. Yes, you can say whatever you want. But for me, this character is in a really good spot right now. In fact, when you compare this guy's spot right now in the meta to where, or to when he initially released, I think he came out back in August. I think that's when he released, August of this year, so 4 months ago. I would say he's in a much better spot now than when he came out, and that's just due to the prevalence of endurance in this meta. This character, actually very similar to the Zenkai Demon King Piccolo that we talked about in the honorable mentions list. They're very similar characters. I think this Frieza does bring more to the table because, think about it, He has blast armor, so it's easier to actually start combos with this guy. He has a second vanishing gauge with his main ability, which is, makes him have a bit more sustain on the battlefield, as well as just the ability to stall out time, which is, I think, pretty important right now with some of the locking abilities these units have, right? He destroys Dragon Balls. Well, Demon King Piccolo destroys Dragon Balls as well, but this guy does it, I think, in a much more, I guess, contained manner. By every time he switches onto the battlefield, you don't just steal 2 at once. If the enemy doesn't even have 2 Dragon Balls, you can destroy 1, come in later, destroy another one. And then the last thing he does is he actually provides support to the team depending on how much HP he has remaining. So under 60%, he does give the team that extra boost. So I feel like that are dimensions that Demon King Piccolo does not bring to the table. I think Demon King Piccolo definitely does overall more damage than this Frieza, and his main ability does, I think, give that little bit of extra burst potential with the Rising Rush just immediately like that, right? So overall, I think those 2 units are very, very close, but this Frieza, I think, just in terms of his abilities from his kit, he just brings more to the table. Now, the downside to this guy is I feel like he doesn't really have the defenses that you really, really need in this meta to be like a absolutely dominant unit right now. And then on top of that, his teams, I wouldn't really say are the best, but with the leader slot update, you can pretty much slide him into any team that you really want to. Like last season for me, I grinded to God rank with this full power Frieza on a future team next to the Sword of Hope Trunks and LF Future Gohan. So this Frieza definitely brings a lot to the table, and I'm actually pretty happy with how he's turned out. So this is number 10 on the list. Let's go to number 9. Alright, so coming in at number 9 on my list here is the Zamasu Goku Black Assist unit. So this is one of the Legends Festival 2021 characters on here. Now, initially, upon my first sort of glance at this character and the first time that I used them, I actually was a bit underwhelmed by how they performed, but as I used them more and more, and as I learned just how powerful the current iteration of the future team was, they actually fit almost perfectly on that setup, right? You have a lot of endurance characters. These guys heal 10% HP whenever they switch the whole team. So the ability to just constantly heal with them, they're tanking, they're destroying Dragon Balls, they're locking main abilities, they're reducing your enemy vanishing gauge. A lot of these intangible effects that this character is doing, you don't really see that in a lot of other characters, right? So I think that is pretty important. I think the main ability locking mechanic that this character brings, you don't really see that, remember? I mean, Beerus was the first one to bring it to the table. Then you had the Yellow 17 also do that. And if you guys have played against this unit, which I'm sure a lot of you have at this point, you know just how annoying that main ability locking mechanic is, because it allows you to not stop time, it allows you to not get your additional buffs, it allows you to not remove buffs. Like let's say you're using Super Vegeta, for example, you can't remove their buffs. This unit just brings a lot to the table. They're able to have, I think, up to 70% to sustain damage cut during the first, I think it's 15 or 20 counts or something like that of the fight. So they can actually eat a Rising Rush from I've had this happen before where I've used this character and they've eaten Rising Rushes from purple units and lived. It's pretty insane how tanky these guys are. They get double card draw speed, they reduce the enemy ki when they switch in. Just a lot of annoying stuff that this unit brings to the table. And then also the Vanishing Gauge removal on the first green card that they use. That is a really, really strong effect to pair up with a lot of these other characters. Like you use that, you can bring in someone like, if you want to use the blue Super Gogeta, the Ultra Super Gogeta, you have an enemy that's dead, you lock him in, and then you just Rising Rush and they can't do anything. It's literally impossible to do anything from that situation. So all of these annoying disruption-esque effects that this character does, just pretty unique to this character, and I feel like that's enough to push them into the top 10 here. Coming in at number 8 on the list is going to be my favorite unit ever. Just kidding. Not my favorite unit ever. Is Zenkai Blue Super Saiyan Bardock. Now, 3 days ago, I probably would not have had this character on the list. There is one other character you guys will see later in the video who pretty much allowed this character to sort of break through that power level and make the list here. In my opinion, this is the only unit in Dragon Ball Legends history that I actually think they absolutely must do something about. We had the Red Gohan dominance for like almost literally a full year. This Bardock will never go away. Red Gohan, we've already seen him be power crept. He's still very powerful, but he's not at the level that he once was at. This Bardock, it's not about what he's doing. It's not about him killing your character. It's not about him coming into the battlefield and dominating your team. It's about him synergizing and providing those support buffs to the Super Saiyan characters. So, for example, third or fourth year anniversary comes around, they release a Ultra Super Vegito. Guess who the first character you include on your team is with that Super Vegito? That's right, this Bardock. Every Super Saiyan character that they release moving forward is instantly propelled to like twice as good as they are supposed to be because of Bardock. And that's a design limitation that I think is just, it's honestly just a very dumb, it's a dumb design that they made for this character. The support buffs that he provides are too good. And it doesn't matter how good he is as a character, it's just those buffs that he's giving to the team and to that tag specifically that just, they got to do something about this, man. I mean, we can't just go through this every single time a Super Saiyan character releases. But yeah, I mean, you guys have heard my frustrations with this guy before. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on Bardock. Like, are you guys sick and tired of seeing this guy every time a Super Saiyan releases? Because I know I am, but definitely strong, definitely powerful. Second Vanish, card draw speed, the whole shebang for this guy. So, number 8 on the list, Zenkai Super Saiyan Blue Bardock. Coming in at number 7 on the list is going to be LF Yellow Future Gohan. Pretty much approaching a year old with this character at this point. The famous jack of all trades. Pretty good defensively, pretty good offensively. Card draw speed, provides support to the team. Does pretty much everything you could want in one unit. This guy is just very, very good. His cover change mechanic is honestly, I found to be one of the best in the entire game. The reason why he's 7 on the list, I feel like a lot of people would probably have him actually even higher than 7 on the list, meaning more towards the number 1 area. The reason why he's a little bit higher is because, again, we've seen the resurgence of a lot of these characters that nullify endurance. We have LF Rose Goku Black, who I didn't even talk about in honorable mentions. I honestly probably should have put him in the honorable mentions. Who can pretty much just kill this guy in a Rising Rush if you get one off with him. We have LF Full Power Frieza, we have Demon King Piccolo, the Zenkai one. We have units that we're yet to talk about on the list, like Goku and Vegeta, like Ultra Gogeta, who all have ways to nullify endurance, and that's been this guy's, his strong suit for a long time. Him being yellow, I think, is good. Again, mono purple is a force to be reckoned with in the meta here. The fact that, again, I mentioned his cover change earlier is really, really good. But again, if you have the Goku and Vegeta switched in with the Vegeta variant, and you go and cover change against that Vegeta with this Future Gohan, that Vegeta can A, either just completely nullify your cover change, or B, he draws a blast card when you switch in with this character, so you can actually chain into your cover change and still combo you even through the blast nullification that this guy does. So I feel like, there are some tools that these newer units have to sort of deal with Future Gohan's annoying kit that he has, but this guy is still able to hold his own. I forgot to also mention he does go type neutral when you have a dead ally as well. So again, this guy just pretty much has access to all of the really, really powerful and, I don't want to say broken mechanics, but I guess meta-defining mechanics, right? So definitely doesn't really feel like this guy's aged that much, and he'll probably continue to be a dominant force moving forward in the meta. So this is Future Gohan. He was number 7. Coming in at number 6 on the list, we have LF Revival Gohan from the BoJack Unbound movie. This character, when he came out, was almost a joke. That's how good he was, right? You had the first part of the anniversary, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and the red corrupted Zamasu. And then this guy comes out as the part 2, big release, and he just blew those two out of the water. The amount of teams you saw running this character was just off the charts. He was on movies, he was on Hybrid Saiyans, he was on Super Saiyans. They knew how powerful this character was, and a lot of it was due to the revival mechanic. Still, at that point in time, a fairly, untouched mechanic. We had Revival Cell. We had Revival Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but, not a mechanic that was really, super, super powerful, because they sort of took their time and were very cautious with how they implemented that mechanic. But this was really the first unit that we saw bringing, let me show you guys something, bringing this level of stats to a character that basically has 2 lives, right? I mean, look at that. This character has 2 lives. So they knew that they screwed up with this character's release. And for that reason, you saw a lot, and I mean a lot, of these upcoming LF releases after Gohan bringing very, very strong anti-revival mechanics to the game, like LF Cell, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta with his unique equipment, like LF Goku and Vegeta. They all severely punish you for using revival characters. So for that reason, I have him at the number 6 spot on the list. I feel like a lot of people probably have him, or could have him a little bit higher on the list, or lower, depending on your experience. But this character does a lot. He heals the whole team, he gives them a support buff, he's able to manipulate sub-counts a lot with his blue card and his green card for himself and for his allies. So very, very strong character, deserving of the top 10 list for sure. So this is number 6, Revival Gohan. Alright, so we have reached the top 5 here, and coming in at number 5, I would probably say this might be the most controversial spot on this list, but I'm going to go ahead and give this to the LF Zenkai Super Vegito from the first year anniversary. This character is, I think, still pretty underrated. Well, do I really want to say underrated? Because he's used on like pretty much every single mono purple team, so I think a lot of people understand how good this guy is. The fact that he has card draw speed just like forever, pretty much, like every time he switches enemy, it's not permanent, but he draws a card and he has card draw speed, and he can get double card draw speed if you pop his main ability. He's providing support to the whole team every time an enemy uses a card. He's getting stronger whenever he draws cards, which I get, again, just like I just mentioned, synergizes really well with his kit where he draws millions of cards. His main ability still is one of the strongest main abilities in the entire game. So if you combine all those things together, it just creates this crazy, crazy character. If he gets going, very few units can really stand up to this guy. Again, the nullification of endurance on the ultimate is just a pretty universal thing at this point, but it does give him value because he's able to deal with units like the LF Sword of Hope Trunks that have endurance, and that have just been like a mainstay in the meta ever since Legends Festival started. So this is Super Vegito. Like, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Do you think he deserves the number 5 spot, or do you think he deserves to be higher or lower on the list? Let me know down below. I think he's a very, very strong unit. The only thing I would say that sort of holds him back a little bit are his defenses. He definitely can get destroyed by a lot of these other really strong characters. So this has been number 5 on the list, LF Zenkai Super Vegito. Coming in at number 4 on the top 10 list here is going to be the LF Sword of Hope Trunks, so one of the big units released during Legends Festival here. This guy is absolutely ridiculous. The amount of damage this guy does on any of his teams, honestly, Future or Hybrids, even Super Saiyans with Bardock, right? I mean, those are the 3 main teams I feel like you're going to see this guy on. He absolutely dominates with the amount of damage he does. The main thing about this character to know is his unique gauge really adds tons of damage to not only his normal attacks, but also his ultimate. His ultimate, I think with this guy's gauge fully built up, his ultimate probably is still the hardest hitting attack in the game. It's just the amount of damage it does, because remember, I believe the unique gauge gives you 40% to damage, and then it also gives you 40% to ultimate damage. So it's like the double whammy effect there. He gets card draw speed with his unique gauge filled up. He has endurance, assuming you're on the... Oh yeah, Vegeta Clan as well is a really good team for him. As long as you're on the Vegeta Clan team or Future team. So, I mean, again, very similar unit, I think, actually, to Future Gohan, but the damage output of this guy is just a lot higher. The unique gauge also has a disruption-like effect as well, reducing enemy ki by 60, so it pretty much stops the enemy in their tracks whenever they do activate that unique gauge. Pretty much resets the battlefield, allows his Trunks to regain his footing and set up for a combo of his own. But overall, yeah, just a really, really strong character that not only can dish out a lot of damage, but also eat a lot as well, have endurance. Pretty much very strong jack of all trades style unit. So number 4, LF Sword of Hope Trunks. Number 3 on the list is going to be LF Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, the headliner of the 3rd anniversary. Now, the evolution of this unit, the progression of this unit since his release back in, I guess, late May, early June of 2021 this year, has been pretty remarkable, honestly. I mean, he came out, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, he wasn't that good when he released. He was pretty underwhelming for an anniversary headliner, especially comparing it last year to Vegito Blue. He did not have anywhere close to the same impact that Vegito Blue had on the game, on the meta, on everything. Once his unique equipment released, and they really focused in on, okay, how do we make this guy what he should have been when he released? The fact that he is a must-run. Think about this. This is the reason why he's number 3, by the way. This is what I'm about to say right now. He is a must-run versus any revival character. He's a must-run versus Sword of Hope Trunks. He's a must-run versus Ultra Gogeta, and he is not a must-run, but he's a very, very powerful character versus Goku and Vegeta, because you actually do really want to use a green unit against that Vegeta. Otherwise, Vegeta's just going to solo your whole team, right? You see Goku and Vegeta on a mono purple team, your initial reaction is, okay, let me just load up on yellow units. Well, guess what? Goku and Vegeta switch to Vegeta, the Vegeta variant, they tag into the Vegeta side of that unit, and he just solos your team. He just mows you down like you're a lawn. He's a lawnmower. That's exactly how it goes. But with a character like this on your team, the ability to special cover change twice against strikes or blasts, his ability to go type neutral on his main ability, his ultra mega tanky damage cut that he enters the battlefield with, his blast armor, a lot of what this guy's doing, a lot of the mechanics he's bringing to the table, just crazy damage. The blue card potential this guy has on the Fusion Warrior team, which is now, by the way, a really solid team in the meta with Super Vegeta Zenkai and Ultra Gogeta. This guy has found a home on a lot of these teams. Saiyans, Fusion Warriors, GT is like a really decent team now. Just a really strong unit, and I feel like he's only going to be aging well as more revival characters come out. So probably the biggest turnaround in Legends history, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Here he is at number 3 on the list here. Alright guys, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Goku and Vegeta. You guys know how absolutely stupid and ridiculous this unit is. They are number 2 on the list, and to even think about the fact that they are not the best unit in the game it's almost like unbelievable to even think about. So yeah, these guys, I mean, the tag mechanic absolutely changed the way that Legends, I think, is played. Changes the way you view new units, what they're doing. This unit, a unit is meta-defining when pretty much every team in the top ranks of PvP they have to be built around countering Goku and Vegeta. How many mono purple teams do you guys run into in PvP per day? I'm telling you right now, before Ultra Gogeta came out, I think I probably faced like 70 to 80% of all my matches. They were all mono purple, and the reason why that team even is possible is because of Goku and Vegeta's ability to switch typings, right? Obviously, if you bring a mono purple team, the enemy's going to be inclined to bring a bunch of yellow units. Well, guess what? You tag into Vegeta, and he's like one-shotting these yellow characters. So then you're forced to bring a green unit to counter Vegeta, but then you just go back to Goku, or you switch into somebody else like Super Vegeta to just completely incinerate your green units. So this unit, the amount of healing they do, the amount of sustain that they have in the battlefield, the Vanish Restoration with Goku's blue card, the anti-revival mechanic that they have, honestly the second best anti-revival mechanic in the game, I would say, after Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. They pretty much do it all. They're extremely tanky on cover cut. They get, I think it's 60% reduced damage received. It's something like that. It's 50 or 60%. I don't really know what else to say, guys. Their green card draws blue cards, so they can nullify endurance every time they use a blue card. It gets ridiculous at a point, and I feel like this is one of those units that's going to go down in Legends history as one of the most meta-defining units. So Goku and Vegeta, LF Goku and Vegeta, the first tag unit in Legends history, number 2 on my list here. Coming in at number 1, the best unit in Dragon Ball Legends right now, December 25th, 2021, my opinion, Ultra Super Gogeta. Now, before we even talk about what he does, let me just show you his stats here. What is this? If you take a look at the list of power level in my box, look where he is. He is in the middle of the pack amongst all of these Zenkai characters. That's unprecedented. Look at this. Every other character we talked about is pretty much under here, unless you're a Zenkai character, right? Look at this. He's in the middle there. Ridiculous. This is the first time we've seen this off of a summonable character that's not a Zenkai. The damage this guy does, the blast armor, the fact that he gains 5 ki on strike card, but the main thing that makes this guy so absurd is his unique gauge. The fact that he can pretty much end every single combo with a blue card, destroying your whole enemy's hand, and then buying himself enough time to get his Vanish back, to draw all of his cards again, to gain all of his ki back, and then guess what? You start another combo with him, you press his green card, you nullify all special cover changes, and then you do the same thing over and over and over again. This guy uses like 5 to 7 blue cards per match. He's nullifying endurance for 30 counts on ultimate usage. He's drawing another ultimate at the end of the match. The thing, in my opinion, that honestly I think they might have screwed up on a little bit is his lock-in and type nullification. The fact that he gains type nullification for 10 counts and locks you in for 5 counts when an enemy, or sorry, when an ally is defeated, that I think is a little bit too good for a unit that's already doing as much as he's doing. There's next to no counterplay around that, and I've had instances where both on my end and the opponent's end where there's actually nothing you could have done to avoid dying to this lock-in, right? Even a unit like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, who I think is a very, very strong option against the unit, against this character, this Ultra Super Gogeta. If you're in a position where this guy gets you locked in as Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and he has type nullification activated, guess what? He can one combo you in 5 counts, because he's going to be getting a full hand of cards with card draw speed, and his blue card is going to spawn, and he's just going to kill you. That's it. It's that simple. If you get locked in versus this unit, and he has that type nullification, you die. It's that simple. There's nothing you could do about it. It's just too good. I don't know if this unit needed that lock-in and type nullification mechanic. I think it actually is a little bit too good. And that, in my opinion, is the reason why I would put him above Goku and Vegeta. If you guys think Goku and Vegeta is better than this Gogeta, I actually don't think that's like an outrageous statement. I think that's a fair statement. But that lock-in and type nullification effect, when you have a dead ally, it's too powerful. For this day and age in this meta, for a unit that's already doing as much damage as this guy's doing with blast armor, you need a Rising Rush to counter that. Otherwise, you lose. You lose the match, pretty much. And on top of everything else he's doing, I mean, it's just... this character is a cheat code in this game, honestly. I don't know, man. We're going to need a lot to counter this guy moving forward, so I'm interested in seeing how they do that. But overall, that is going to be my top 10 rankings of the best characters in Dragon Ball Legends right now. Let me know down below, do you guys agree? Do you disagree with the rankings? I'm interested in hearing what you have to say. Hopefully we can have a civil discussion down below. Again, these are all my opinion. Everything's at 14 stars. Everything's ranked with the best equipment possible. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.